Hi guys, welcome back to video number 2 for the day. I just figured since it's a day off and I've already made one video, I might as well try to make it 2. Since I spent so much time off of my channel, it's the least I can do when I have some extra time to throw you guys another video, and hopefully one of these videos you guys are going to want to respond to. So, as always, trying to jump straight into the topic of the day, I would like to actually discuss the border security and government shutdown. I know I told you at the beginning of the week that we probably need to discuss this, and I think now that we're on day 21 of the shutdown, it is the perfect chance to now have a conversation, now that it's been going on for about 3 weeks now. So what's the problem, guys? I really wish somebody could explain to me how a bipartisan issue on border security has turned into a Republican agenda full of hate, racism, and zero compassion for people. Once again, I'm just like, what the... I don't understand how everything that Trump touches turns to racism. Like, how do you guys keep making these connections? I mean, you must practice at night before you go to bed or something. I'm not trying to be offensive and rude, but I'm really that confused at how our border security has turned into a fight between citizens over the legitimacy of needing border security. What? We were all on the same page for years and years and years about it. But now we finally have a president who's in the office ready to actually make moves. It's racist? I'm just starting to lose my patience with you guys now in this racist world that you claim that we live in now that Trump's president. I have seen more hate, more racism, and more flat-out bigotry from the Democrats and the lefts and the liberals than ever on the Republican side. And this is me remembering when I was, a left-leaning liberal, how I perceived the other side. And never once was border security a Republican issue, a Democrat issue. It was an issue both people seemed to agree on. And I have to admit, and I'll say it out loud, that yes, the Republican Party was just as bad as the Democrats. They would run on this platform, but they really didn't do much about it. It took Donald J. Trump becoming our president to actually see momentum and movement in the direction of actual border security and dealing with this whole illegal alien situation. And yes, I said illegal alien. What? That's what they are. That's what they've always been called. That's how we have been referring to these people for ever and ever and ever and ever. And changing the wording doesn't change what it is. They're illegal aliens. They're illegal immigrants. They're illegal, which is the word of the day. Illegal. We're not trying to attack people showing up at our borders the right way. We're not trying to attack people who are trying to move into this country the right way. We are talking about the illegal ones who have managed to make their way into this country through a hole in a fence, through a tunnel under a fence. They didn't go to the nearest, security checkpoint. They hired some coyote to sneak them into the country. Those are the people we're talking about. And I don't care how good these people are. They could have the bestest of intentions in the world. But that's not how they're starting out their life here in America when they're sneaking past the border. So excuse me if just because somebody trying to get into our country might not have criminal intent, looks like a criminal to me simply because they snuck into the country. And now when these people sneak into the country and now they're here illegally and they didn't do anything the right way, now anything else that they need to get or achieve comes in an illegal form or fashion. And then our states and our taxes end up paying for these people because then they go to the emergency rooms. They need a place to live. So they go and they get on all our government assistance and get on food stamps and all these other things. And all these people can say that these people don't do this, but they do. They absolutely do. And you have a whole, percentage of the population that knows this and says these policies are the exact reason these people keep sneaking into the country. And maybe if we change these policies, that would give them a reason not to come into the country. But nobody did anything. Nobody did anything at all until Trump made the promise and we're like, okay, he's making these promises. Give y'all one more shot at showing us you can do it. And everything that he's tried to do, from border security to North Korea, anything he's ever done, y'all want to slap a racist sticker on it. And I'm over it. We don't just have illegal people in this country who are of brown tones. We have white illegal immigration just the same as we do with Mexico and Honduras and all of those places. And with that argument comes that most of those people come by plane. And why aren't we dealing with that? Well, let me share a little story with you. Back when I lost my husband, I didn't know how to stay on the island. I was just overwhelmed with a lot of changes all at once. The only thing I knew to do was just leave and go somewhere where I knew I had a place to go that was secure. And that was North Carolina. Now, granted, I didn't stay in North Carolina very long because that just was not the life for me. And it was a really shitty time to move my life after so many major changes had happened. So a friend of mine books my flight for me, and I get all the information, and I see that I have a layover in Canada. And I'm like, isn't Canada a different country? I don't have a passport. Is this going to be an issue having a layover in Canada? So I go to the website, I look everything up, and it says that if you are going to be in Canada for more than 45 minutes, even just on a layover, you have to have a passport. So I call the airline and I explain to the woman that I have a flight going to Hawaii, but I have a layover in Canada, but I do not have a passport. Just a side note for this story, y'all, that travel agent asked me, well, don't you need a passport to go to Hawaii? No, ma'am. Hawaii is part of the United States, and Canada is not. But the layover is for more than 45 minutes, and according to everything I'm reading, a layover that's more than 45 minutes requires, even though I'm not leaving the airport, to have an ID or have a passport. I do not have one. Even though I'm not leaving the airport, and even though it's not my fault how long the layover is, will I still be able to get on this flight? No. We are not going to be able to book your flight because you have to have a passport to be in the airport longer than 45 minutes. So we had to cancel that whole transaction and rebook my flight. If we have people coming into this country on planes and they don't have a passport and they're coming from a different country, these people at the airport need dealt with. Absolutely. Absolutely. We must deal with this situation. But as far as I'm concerned, this situation should already not be a situation at all. I couldn't even get on a plane that was going into Canada for 45 minutes. So how is it that we have people getting on planes from these countries that require your travel to our country? You must have a legal passport, but we've got upwards of 4,000 people coming into this country at a time through airlines. Seems like our government really does need to crack down on the airlines a little bit on that, don't you think? I think so. I don't think that there's anything unfair about saying we need to also tackle this from air, land, and sea. Because, of course, we do still have people, jumping on their little boats, and as long as they can get that boat on shore, you made it to America. That's a hard travel to go by boat to travel to the United States. I can only imagine that not a lot of people want to take that chance. So now you have land, and where most of the people are just walking on to our country's property without any documentation is at the U.S.-Mexican border. But we're not supposed to do anything about that because they're brown and that might be racist? No, absolutely not. And before we even just travel down that road, I would like to discuss the amount of money Trump is asking for and address the Mexico is supposed to pay for it. Mexico will eventually pay for the wall through, I guess, our trade agreements and other agreements that Mexico and the U.S. have now. So therefore, based on these new policies and new agreements, Mexico will inevitably be paying for the wall at some point, just not right now. And right now is when we want the wall. Right now is when we're asking our Congress and our Senate and everybody else to get stuff nipped in the bud now so that we can start this now because it's a problem right now. $5 billion. Okay. To me, to you, $5 billion is a lot of money. Okay, I'm not disputing that $5 billion is a lot of money. But in the grand scheme of things, when you compare it to the money we're spending on other things in this country, $5 billion is a drop in the bucket compared to the money we've spent in other areas in this country. $5 billion should not be holding up our government, especially when our border security is on the line. I have people that say we shouldn't have any borders, it should be open borders, and everybody should just be able to come and go as freely and carefree as they want to. What world are y'all living in? I want to be in that world where we can all just travel freely amongst ourselves across the world and not worry about the consequences of other people doing that too who have wrong intentions. You can't have a country without borders. And you can't have borders if they're not secure. So again, why is the money an issue when we all know it's going to cost? And everybody before Trump became president was on the same page with this situation. That we need more border security. The war on Republicans, it's a bad one. And, it sucks. Because this is something that we as a country truly, I think, believed that if we came together on any issue, it was going to be that. Right? Because let's face it, Americans aren't white. Well, they're not just white. We have white Americans, Black Americans, Chinese Americans, Native Americans. We have people of all different races who live in this country that make up America. And we want all of us protected. Not just the white people, and not just against the scary brown people. It's against the very people who are coming into this country and leeching off of us, and coming into this country and bringing their criminal ways with them. We have a right to sort out the difference between the good guy and the bad guy. And I'm sorry, you could be a good guy, but if you're coming into this country illegally, you're a criminal. You're now a bad guy. Sorry, that's just how it is. Your kid might be the greatest kid on the planet, but if he stole some gum out of the store, he's a shoplifter. Sorry. And then I hear people, argue that they're just trying to find a better life. Well, I know plenty of veterans who would like a better life. I know plenty of people here on the island of Oahu who would love a better life. Our poverty level is $92,000, guys. Like, seriously, if you make $92,000 in Hawaii, you're considered poor. Just saying. So now, on top of that, we have to deal with the people coming in, and they're not even coming in the right way, and then now they're leeching off of our resources. No thanks. You're a leech, or you're a criminal, if you're coming in this country any other way than the right way. Sorry. Truth is still the truth, whether it hurts your feelings or not. And I'm just really sick of the argument that securing our borders is racist. Come up with something that is at least arguable, something that takes a little bit more brain power to, defend against. Calling it racist is lunacy. It's not even racist at all. It's protecting our borders and protecting the people within those borders from people on the outside who have bad intention. $5 billion for the wall. And all this goes away. What's the big deal? Oh, we'll be an intolerant nation. Is it intolerant for the bar that you go in to have security? Tell you have to have your shirt tucked in and have to be patted down, before you can even walk in the door? How about the security at a jewelry store? Or how about our police? We have all these different lines of security within our country, but we're not supposed to protect the border of our country? And don't even get me started, and don't even tell me about how the club didn't build a wall around it. Because guess what? The club are the walls, okay? The security is protecting the people within that establishment. They're protected. That's their wall. That's where they are inside that place. That's what they're protecting people. And they're not allowing, people to come in with weapons or come in wearing clothes that they could, hide things. Is that intolerance, or is that for your safety? Because as far as I'm concerned, if we can secure our bars, and we can secure our hospitals, and we can secure our courthouses, and we can secure our private homes, what's the problem in securing our border? There's clearly a problem there. And shout out to Jim Acosta for showing us how well a wall works. Appreciate that, bud. Don't think that's what you were trying to do, but that's what you did. You proved that the wall works, and I appreciate that. Way to go, Jim Acosta. So, what is really the big deal? For me, I think the big deal is that anything that the Republicans have as an agenda is an automatic defense against or from the Democrats. I've even said in earlier videos that I don't even believe that this is a Trump issue. It looks like a Trump issue, but it's really not. Any Republican president in office right now would be dealing with the same thing. Now, a regular Joe Blow Republican president probably wouldn't have been as productive as this one. So maybe he's catching a little bit more crap than a normal president would, because he's been so extraordinary in his presidency. So, and again, not everything that he does is right, but he's trying very, very hard to run this country and protect everybody in it. And I just don't understand how some of you are so easily duped into believing that Democrats never wanted a wall or never wanted border security. They absolutely did. Plenty of video of Obama, plenty of video of Nancy Pelosi, plenty of video of Chuck Schumer, and plenty of video of plenty other Democrats talking about the damn wall or border security or, you know, we shouldn't just be allowing people to just walk into our country. They said these things, okay? So what's different now? Republican power. Our president is a Republican. And they don't want to work with Republicans. They want to just keep using the same old tired issues this country has and promising to fix them without actually fixing them so they can run on the same promises the next year. And now Trump fixing a lot of these things is ruining that chance of just running on false promises. Now you got to find a whole new batch of shit to promise people and they don't know what to do. So they're fighting against it. And now they're fighting against this wall. And it looks rather ridiculous on the party, especially when you know where they stood just but 5 years ago in this issue. So, please explain to me what the big deal is. Please, intellectually explain to me, without name calling, without assumptions, and without bashing me verbally, as to how funding the border wall is racist. Please explain that to me, because I don't see it as racist. Just like I don't see bouncers at a club as racist. Their job is to protect the people on the inside of the club. The wall is to protect the people on the inside of the country. Why wouldn't we all want that? I don't understand why this is such a big deal all of a sudden. I, for one, was over the moon when I realized that our president was actually serious about doing something about this. And to see the level of fight from the other side, it once again shows their hypocrisy. And whether you're just a kind-hearted person that really wants to believe everybody coming to this country deserves a shot, you still got to look at what those people were saying just 5 years ago about the border and about illegal immigration. They were saying the same thing Trump is saying now. What's different? What's different? Why is it now racist? But it wasn't racist when you agreed to this when Obama was in the office. Like, so I'm appreciating this government shutdown. Call it my white privilege if you want, but it has nothing to do with white privilege. It just has to do with knowing that when you're trying to negotiate and you need a negotiating tool, and you have to use the government as that negotiation tool, and you have people out of work, you have people deeply affected by the shutdown, that's why that negotiation tactic is as important as it is because he knows how it's going to affect the American people, to affect the government. And he has said out loud, I'm ready. They have to be ready. He tried to settle this a year ago when the DACA situation was blown out of proportion. And then when he tried to give back and negotiate the DACA process, he gave more than what Democrats were asking for. And in return, all he wanted was his wall funded. And what did they do? They basically screwed every DACA recipient by not trying to negotiate. There's like this wall, and they're not going to cross it until when that wall is removed. On the other side, there's not a Trump presidency to answer to or to work with or to negotiate with. And that's kind of a shitty attitude to have. You were elected to do a job. And when you were elected to do that job, when you ran for that job, you agreed to be a part of whatever administration was in charge. Just because you're a Democrat and your president is Republican doesn't mean you stop working with your president. There's been no working with this president at all. Nancy Pelosi was very verbal, and I'm never giving you what you want for your wall. That's not negotiating. That's putting your foot down and saying this way or no way. And that's not how our government's supposed to work. That's not what we voted you into office for. And to constantly shift the blame back to our president when we know all too well it's the Democrats holding us back from negotiating and compromising. And I think Trump has done a lot of compromising. And now he's demanding his $5 billion for the wall. And the American people have spoke. They said, yes, we want our wall and we want it now. And we're not going to wait for Mexico to pay for it. And if we have to pay for it ourselves, we will. And the GoFundMe account that has over $18 million raised is proof of that. So I don't think everybody in the country who wants a wall is racist. I don't believe that they're bigots, and I don't believe that they just, don't want to see brown people succeed in the nation. They just simply want this country to be ran on the rules and the laws that were put in place to have a successful country. And part of our success is our security and taking care of the very people who live here. And if the American people can't even count on its government to put them first without calling them racist, it's time to get rid of everybody in our government and start fresh. And I'm even talking about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She might be new, but she can be out of here too, because none of these people have our country's best interest at heart. And it's high time we stop letting the media and their agenda to brainwash us into believing our president is a bad person. He's doing more for this country than any other president. And he deserves a pat on the back for that. And he deserves to be called a good leader. And even though you might not agree with this whole shutdown and the security issue of this country, you're not the only one that lives in this country. Look at all the people that live on or next to the border. They'll tell you the people coming through are not good people. They have they're armed and they're ready, and they're constantly dealing with illegals going through their property, stealing from their property, and just criminalizing the very people they see the second they cross the border. Like, they're barely on our land and they're already robbing people and causing people who live here to fear and be locked and loaded and ready at any given moment because of it. But border security is racist. Y'all are ridiculous. And I think it's time you start to reevaluate your belief system and what you expect of this country. And you'll find that if you have normal expectations for your country the way you do for your home and your own children, you will find that funding this wall and getting the government back up and running should be the most important thing to everyone, not just our president, not just the Republican Party, everyone. We all live here, and all of us are affected by what happens. So excuse me if I don't understand what the big deal about the wall is, because quite frankly, it's long overdue, and we asked for it. And the very people that we voted into office are supposed to represent what we want. We demand a wall. Thanks. So, really, let's get started on this wall already. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and all the rest, get your heads out of your ass. Go take a Xanax. Get over your Trump derangement syndrome and get back to running this country the way the American people expect you to run it. And that's based off of what the American people ask for. And right now, we're asking for a wall. So tell me what you think. Do you want a wall? Do you think the wall is racist? Do you not think we need border security? Do you believe we should have an open border policy? And do you think that open border policy should span the globe? Because let's remember, guys, we're not the only country on the planet, and a lot of these countries have walls. P.S. The Vatican even has walls. So, tell me what you think. Leave me a like, a dislike, and as always, if you dislike what I have to say or feel like I am misinformed or need to know something more about the situation, leave me a comment below and let's talk about it. Have a good one, guys. Aloha.